Hi everyone, Uranus Amara here, and today we're going to talk about why unstraight folks were shifted or cleaned, by Dic and later on Cloverway. Now, a lot of folks, would make a lot of folks, nowadays would not make a big deal out of it. They would just leave it as is. Now, that may be true now, but back in the day, the mindset, the stand of, anything having to do with any man or woman being unstraight, well, if it was going to be in a children's show, it would have to be, shifted or cleaned or skimmed in some way. Now, why, you might ask yourself why this is, because there was a belief, that it was wrong at the time for, for children to, see anything in a drawing show, either, in their own land or from another land that had anything to do with anyone being unstraight. So Dic had to make some shifts, and the most noticeable shifts that Dic made at the time was taking Zoe's site. And we're not talking about only having her name, having the spelling shifted, but her shift from a man and sundry offshoots to a woman. Now, it did not only stop there, because if you thought that that was the only unstraight self, if you thought that Quinn's site or Zoisite or Milikite or Zoisite, whatever you want to call them, if you thought that that was the only time that they would have to do it, it would come up again. Well, not in the two dip following. By the third following, when Sailor Neptune, Michelle, and myself showed up, we were shifted from being unstraight lovers to being near kin. Now, I know some folks out there could see through it, but Cloverway was only so many years, away from where Dic was at. And the mindset and stand in 20 was the same mindset and stand that it was in the night between 90 YLs and any time earlier than that. Now, some folks might say, why did Dic and then later on Cloverway have to do that? Well, you see, Dic and Cloverway did not want to be in a bind, because there might be some folks out there that might only say, well, you're not watching that drawing show. There were some folks on there that were unstraight, even though they may have not done anything wrong to say, and that's the only good outcome, that someone would tell them, oh, well, you're not watching it, and then you get harmed in the watch time and looking a little. It could be a lot worse. Someone could choose not only to tell their children not to watch it, but some keepers and some bearers out there could make it a grounds to call the folk work and to bitch. And if enough bitching happened, the folk work might tell Dic or Cloverway, well, it's a no-go, because too many folks don't think it's right that there's unstraight sales in this drawing show. We're going to have to drop it unless you do something to shift it out. So that's why Dic and Cloverway had to shift it out. Nowadays, the mindset and stand of anyone being straight or unstraight is not a big deal anymore. A lot of folks have, took the time to learn, took the time to understand, and were more open-minded to folks and their choosing. And also included unstraight folks in drawing shows. So nowadays, it's not a big deal as it once was to some folks back in the day. That doesn't mean to say that there are still not folks out there who still believe that it's wrong or sinful or unlawful or whatever what their belief is. There are still some folks out there who got that mindset and stand. But we're not going to talk about those folks. They know who they are. But they are only a small, slight of the followership of the world. Half and half, you would say. Half folks, half folks are more open-minded, have some understanding about it, and the other half of the folks are fully against it. So that's why Dic, at the time, when they had the rights to work with Sailor Moon, 9 between 94 YL till 9 between 98 YL, when their deal ended 1 year after that. And when Cloverway got the rights to work with Sailor Moon, 9 between 99 YL till 2003 YL, why Zoisite became a woman, and why me and Michelle, instead of being lovers, we became near kin. It did not stop there. By the fourth following, you have Fisheye, who some folks have a big, not they have a fight over it, but some folks truly believe that he was a she. No, that it was a over-clothing man who was unstraight. Well, in some offshoots, that might be true. But after watching the Cloverway take and Viz take, I am under the held belief that Fisheye is a woman, and only in certain other takes was Fisheye shifted. Keep in mind the drawing show which Toei made from 9 between 92 YL to 9 between 97 YL did a lot of shifts themselves. It wasn't like the drawing show they did now from 24 between YL till 2023 YL, where a lot of things that were happening in the books were matching up in the show. Now, one more little thing. The fifth and last following of Sailor Moon was not done to English at all by either Dic or Cloverway or Pioneer or any other business at the time that would have gotten the rights to work with, Don Landis drawing shows. Well, it was fully skipped altogether. No one in the English-speaking world would ever see that until Viz got the rights to put it into English for the first time. Now, a lot of folks out there nowadays might, have their belief over why this was done. And some folks think that it was done to shame someone who was unstraight, but I don't think it was. I think it was to shield the folkworks and the drawing show businesses, Dic Cloverway, from being put in a bind by unhappy keepers and bearers who had watched the drawing show with their children, whatever the kinship need be, bear or keeper or whatever, and bitched at them that they saw some unstraight folks. Even though they weren't doing anything wrong, they would have bitched at the folkworks, and the folkworks would have then had to bitch at Dic or Cloverway and tell them, you need to shift this out or we gotta drop the show altogether. So that's why Dic and Cloverway didn't want to be put in that bind, so they made the skims that they had to make for the unstraight sales. And a lot of folks are going to behave and say, well, why did Viz didn't have to do it? Because by the time Viz got the rights to work with Sailor Moon, 24 between YL till 2023 YL, they didn't have to worry about that because the mindset, the stand, had shifted, and more folks were more open-minded towards anyone who was unstraight. So they didn't have to, skim it, because they were putting it out on disc, and then they were having streaming deals with it at the time. So they didn't have to truly worry, about that. Yeah, it's true, someone could have gotten irked at it and bitched at the sundry streaming businesses like Netflix or Hulu and tell them I didn't like you having that show and hope to get it dropped from the streaming. As far as the disc sales go, I don't really think they would either say, well, you're not buying that disc. But anyway, at the end of the day, that's why I believe Dic and Cloverway had to do some skimming, cleaning, or cutting, or shifting around of kinships of anyone who was or was not unstraight in a Sailor Moon show. Anyway, that's all the time we got. If you like this film, follow me over here at Sailor Moon for Life. Watch the other film we made yesterday when Sailor Pluto made her film talking about why we never got in a bind with Toei over Double Right. I, Sailor Uranus Amara, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.